sometimes when I mention to people that I'm going to be travelling in my van and I'm going to be staying in my van, they kind of pull a face and look at me as if that's a tremendous hardship. And I can only imagine that they imagine that I'm going to be sort of sleeping in some horrible cold back of a unconverted transit van, and yeah, it's going to be cold and damp and dirty and really uncomfortable. And I mean, hopefully, as you can sort of see around me, it's compact, but it's not actually uncomfortable. It's actually quite luxurious. I have electric light and gravity, and heating and water and a bed and all that stuff. And actually, it's great. And I don't have to book ahead. And I can camping laybys and on the sides of roads in mountains or by the beach, or yeah, it's fantastic. You can pretty much go where you want. You don't have to plan ahead, and it's great. So anyway, I'm coming to the point. I thought I would try and correct that impression that it's really roughing it if I live in my van by giving you a little tour of my van. There's a whole hashtag van life and van living and that kind of thing, which people are using to sort of movement about casting off the shackles of having mortgages and permanent addresses and just moving into a converted van and living in it. Well, I haven't quite done that, but I do spend a fair amount of time living in my van, which isn't really conversion. It was purpose built. The camper part of it was, but nonetheless, I've been doing it for 26 years on and off. So yeah, although it's a relatively new thing for the bright young things, it's kind of old hat for me. So I'm going to give you a tour of my van and show you all the little wrinkles that I've learnt over 25 odd years of using this van and its predecessors, and how I cope and how I manage things, and how my van works. I'm not roughing it at all. It's great. I love it. Even in winter, it's fine. So that's coming up, as they say. One assumption that people often seem to make is that it must be cold in my van, and it's not. I mean, it's lovely weather at the moment, so obviously it's not cold. It's not cold anywhere at the moment, even though it's only April. It's Easter. But even when it is cold, it isn't cold in my van because I have a Propex heater. So this is a blown air colour gas heater, or camping gas heater in my case, which I will talk you through. So up here is the controller and thermostat and stuff. So if I switch it that way, it just blows cool air out from down by my ankles. If I put it in the middle, it goes off. If I switch it that way, it starts up the heater, but I won't do that now because it's hot and I don't need a heater. And then this is thermostatic, so I can set this thing and to the temperature that I require. And when it reaches that temperature, it turns the heater off, and when it drops below that temperature, it turns the heater back on. So you can just leave it sitting there quietly going away, and it will keep the van lovely and warm inside, no problem at all. How does it work, I hear you cry? Well, I'm glad you asked that, because I'm now going to show you. So, the heater itself is down in this locker here. And the reason that there's a grill in the door will become apparent. So, you see that blue box at the back of the locker there? That is the heater itself. And this fat hose comes out of one end of the heater. So the way this works is that in order to burn gas, it sucks in air from outside the van through a little inlet pipe and burns it in a combustion chamber, and then it blows the exhaust gases out through an exhaust pipe that also vents to the outside of the van. Meanwhile, on the outside of that combustion chamber is lots of heat exchanger fins and flues and stuff, and the same fan, or a fan coaxial with the combustion fan, sucks warm air in from the van through that grill in the door, through the locker, incidentally, but that works fine, and then out through this fat hose, and it emerges from the locker through this vent here, which incidentally I can steer, so I can have the hot air pointing at the back of the van or into the interior of the van as I choose. And it really works very well, and it keeps me lovely and warm. So it's not cold and damp in my van at all, ever. it's really quite comfortable and lovely, isn't it, Mr. B? Well, he seems to like it.